So much, Zeke. I am Sancho West alongside Sundown, and it is a new day. Yes, it is. We are seeing some new trios who are trying to meet the performance of our day one trios. And hey, that number two, sometimes a sequel, it can be better than the original. We all talk about movies here. Sundown, you've seen it before. And here's take a look at our game 2 of 7 here in the grand finals. And we're going to see a finish here up in the Northwest region, which is going to really favor that Doom's Domain and, more importantly, that Sweaty Sands trio.
Yeah, what is going on just slightly west there of the ruins? There's like 3 different teams and 3 different triangles all fighting over kind of the one henchman chest that's guaranteed in that area and a couple others. So a couple scavenger routes that are directly on top of each other. We're going to hop on board here with somebody else executing on one of those scavenger routes. This was our match number 6 winner as we turn over to now the official backside. We're on the back half of the games here. Matches 7 through 12, and right now, again, we talked about it at the start of the morning, it's who can catch Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson. And despite the fact that this trio was able to take away the victory, they were able to sneak up there into a 4th place with 3 eliminations. So still a 17-point game coming out of them there. As you can see a little bit on how the scavenger execution kind of goes about. The key is maximizing your materials, getting enough distance covered to kind of scout where you're available to go to next, and see if there's anybody you can potentially ambush who's also running one of these routes. But so far, not going to happen, as we're going to swing back on board here to Clement, Nakos, and Floki.
And we talked about this already, Sundown. This is one of those trios that were very deadly in heats. They kind of get up really quickly to get those elims. You mentioned 8 minutes or less, and they get an elim. They average about 5 elims in their qualifiers and heats. They looked really good. You picked them as well to walk away as the grand finals champion. And we had some day one jitters, a little bit of stumbling blocks. And now they're just seeing this new opportunity. They took a break that is so important. Now we're at that official halftime point. Just to be able to change your playbook, just to change your trajectory. And like we mentioned, it's just a shift in just a little bit. You don't have to do anything too crazy. Just a simple shift could get you back up into the leaderboard standings.
And one thing to note, too, is they had just 2 really poor games where they weren't able to get into those placement thresholds. You can see on the right-hand side, each elimination being a point, but the placement starting to tick in once you're in the top 17. And for a trio like this in particular, they thrive on consistently getting placement points. They're not necessarily known for those absolutely massive over-the-top victory royales. They're more than capable of winning a game, but it's not typical for them to be getting those 15, 16, 17 eliminations VRs back-to-back. They did it in heats, though. However, now we're going to swing over to a little bit of contention going on. It's the battle here at Doom's Domain, and yet again, as we saw during the qualifier 3 rounds, Benji and Co. controlling the vault and then utilizing the secret passageways back and forth to try and get positioning over here on the north side of the house. And you can see the dual media group now trying to rotate back over here. However, all of the onus here is really going to be on Benji and Co. to take this one out.
And we're seeing this engagement could be so detrimental to run. Dual Media's trio is sitting in 30th place at the moment. And day one, Benji, Mr. Savage, and let you kind of, I think they ran them out of Doom's Domain at the very beginning, very early on. It looks like Dual Media has stepped it up just a little bit, maybe trying to take advantage of Mr. Savage, Lechi's, and Benji's slow starts. If they could shake off that slow start, maybe Benji could kind of put a run together to contest with Mongo's trio, to contest with Andalix. But right now, so far, we're just seeing another slow start here, Sundown. Just a little bit. We maybe see the early signs of it. You know what I mean? I'm tasting the air, and I could taste that slow start.
And the one thing to note is about the slow starts today, you think, yeah, well, we got 7 games today. That's 1 more than we normally get. Like, it's okay. There's time as Mirza there gets picked up by Benji. And a nice little 50-50, able to swap over there to the Epic AR. Lechi is also going to be able to get a pick up there on the side. Benji's going to find the other one, and Lechi doesn't get converted. So saving some key resources there as well, not having to go over and utilize the reboot. We'll have to find some additional white heals if they have the bandage cannon. So not going to lose too much, but I mean, we've talked about it. Everyone is playing catch-up to Tayson, Mitro, and Mongrel. And one slow game, they got 17 points last game. So all of a sudden, that difference at the top, specifically if you're Benji, Savage, and Lechi, you lost 12 points last game. You have to make that up some way, shape, or form. And if these guys don't go down, if we don't see kind of that classic patented mongrel over aggression where he kind of overreaches a little bit in the early and the mid game, and they keep getting their Storm Surge tags, I think, again, it's going to turn into a race for second.
I mean, the biggest fear as well is if somebody or some trio just decided to do 50-50s and try to drop into Starks. It happened before. They did lose their spot early in qualifiers when Jaspy's trio, who is in the grand finals, mind you, kind of contested. They kind of started to lose it, but I think that woke up MMT. That woke up this trio to let them know, look, we're going to have to understand that someone will contest us at some point. And they just obliterated Jaspy's trio in that next day in that tournament. So that is what we're kind of watching here. It's like, will it happen? Could it happen? We already seen OCE, the Lynx trio slip from that first place, going all the way down to 7th place or so. It could happen, but so far, I don't taste it in the air. I only smell grand final champion here.
And that would be such a key kind of feather in these guys' caps. We talked about them being some of the strongest and best players in the world, and right now trying to put that on display, utilizing, again, we talked about this as well, the first shot accuracy from the Stark Industry Rifle and the high base damage of it, the fact that it still hits for 35 even at maximum range, and being able to convert on those 50+ damage headshots, make it one of the strongest weapons. And particularly, I mean, everybody has seen the clip of Mongrel on the high ground with an infantry rifle. This is about the same. And you'll also notice too, they'll generally run in terms of the rifle choice. They'll have a burst rifle on Mitro, and then Tayson and Mongrel will pick up those Stark Industry Rifles. That way, when you're spraying a wall, you have the fast first shot accuracy from the Stark rifles, and then the 2-shot burst coming through on the burst AR. It gives them a bunch of pressure to hit trios behind their builds.
We saw that stat of Indretta, Sapphic, and Mongrel having 15+ elims, so they are slaying out. But what a metaphor. You see Mongrel's trio all decked out, swagged out, and whiplashes, and then you see everybody else in the back of the pack trying to catch up in the coop. That's the kind of race that we're talking about. Can the turtle catch the hare? And this hare has an extreme crazy start, and they're not going to be lazy like that story hare. They're not going to take a break. They're not going to eat. They're going to keep running at full speed. They're going to take their whiplashes and cross the finish line. The question is, can the people in the coops and the trucks, any kind of Fortnite vehicle, man, I'm going to take it all the way back to the board days and maybe the shopping cart days, who's going to catch up to that whiplash trio? I don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah, you can see those Mark 51s being so fast on rotation, but I will say the one thing that could end up potentially being a little bit of a stumbling block for the trio would be if they end up struggling with Storm Surge today. We've already seen in the first 2 games, that first Storm Surge has been massive in a completely uncontested drop spot. If they aren't able to kind of get enough tags to get over the top, that could force them into kind of one of those classic mongrel over-aggressive situations.
Right.
As long as they avoid that, I think they'll be okay. Right? I think that if they've done enough so far where they have the playmaking ability over the course of these 6 games, that they're going to have at least 1 or 2 more solid games in that instance. As long as they don't have 1 or 2 absolutely ruinous games by Storm Surge, this should be good enough for them. But right now, we're going to hop on board with the pressure coming from iDrop straight into the box. Downs gets picked up there. No problem from iDrop 7. However, Stirstix is going to eat a little bit of a problem there. He gets caught in a separate box, and all of a sudden, the 2v2 on the mark, you can see iDrop trying to push forward. They're going to try and get a little bit of a disengage, make sure they can get shields up, but a little bit of a slip up there from what is normally a very strong box-to-box trio.
That was like an extreme push. I've never seen the 1, 2, 3 go, and everybody just box dive in with the AR spray and getting right inside as a trio. And then what ended up happening is they ran into that edit with the triangle edit, and one got caught, got hit right in the shins. You mentioned this in the EU side of things. You got to wear your shin guards, man. You got to pop them, or if not, someone's going to crack you, give you that slide tackle, and there's not going to be a referee to come out of nowhere and give you a red card to kick you out. You're going to have to do this on your own.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you'll get a warning there in the form of one of your players dropping down, but the retaliation not going to result in anybody else being sent off. You can see Nems and Wave Doko rotating through the river, using that downstream current to try and get a little bit of speed. But iDrop being aware of that as well, getting good pressure onto him here. And actually looks like they're trying to kind of pick this fight 2v3. You see Storm Surge is ticking on. 20 players going to be impacted by that here in 1 minute and 45 seconds. iDrop trying to force his way into the box, but plenty of angles and pressure coming out from the other side. Super limited amount of materials here, down to only 17 builds. You can see that under his one elimination here as we wait for it to catch up, and you can see good pressure coming out from Nems. He is down the shield advantage, but he has his teammate providing some rifle support on both the angles that you can see. Jaganza and Joko just laying down shots for him. A little bit of spread out, though, if they are able to force in and get Nems situated. And they're going to use the harpoon gun straight in, and Nems is going to get picked off. A huge pickup there from iDrop and Vettel, but can they get out of the water?
You're just seeing how great this trio is, but I think what's really affecting them as we're seeing them to try to capitalize and close out this trio is that essentially that change in drop spot is really hurting them. Look at their power weapons. It's not there. They're really doing this with green weapons and not having that firepower. Yes, you could be the most extreme trio that's going to fight hip to hip, but when you're not as strong as Monster was like to say, a 1.5 player that's walking around with an epic shotgun or legendary shotgun, it's just going to be so difficult for you to close out these fights. It's a matter of stamina, and you don't have the necessary stamina considering that you're basically going into these engagements in shambles, and already iDrop 7 goes down. Surstix is already out, and Vettel is literally on the green HP as Storm is going to overwatch them, and there it is. They get cleaned up, Sundown, and this is the same interesting that I was talking about Thomas HD, the change in drop spot. This trio of Vettel landed in Misty Meadows during their heats. Thomas HD landed in Dirty Docks. They made the switches, and they have yet to kind of find the right rotations out of those changes.
We can see all the action going down as everyone trying to get above the Storm Surge special. But most important to the leaderboard there, we saw Andalex and Co. ended up having at least 2 of their players fall. So going to be forced into a 1v3 situation unless they can stick a revive. We're going to hop on board here. Nako's Clement and Floki sitting on 1 elim, courtesy of Nako's vertical shockwave coming out, pops him up into the air, but not going to really find anything. Going to be able to utilize his hard mats, just kind of drop back down. And you can see the elim feed lighting up, and the only thing that matters is we're not seeing Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson on the right side of that feed. In fact, we saw them on the left side of that feed getting a knock, and right now, Vadil, Kylie, and Frostroki under pressure here from our top 4 French trio of Nakos, Floki, and Clement.
And Vidil was one of those trios that was so hot coming into the grand finals, and they just literally, just like a hot iron heading cold water, boom, just get cooled down instantly, just like that chug splash. No doubt must be feeling right now because it's so sweaty. The competition's going to get so stiff, and you're looking at here, things are going to get ratcheted up a notch. Considering, Sundown, we have a Coral Castle finish in our midst, in the distance, but let's just focus in on this trio fight right now. Floki, Clement, Nakos, who's been heating up, had a great game previously. These are the fights that they had lose, because we saw them in day 1 where they had those bad game 2 and game 3. This cannot go, they have to go their way here. Yes, it's a nice knock on Vadil.
Yeah, Floki actually just put Vadil in a blender there for a second, getting over to the side there. Kylie also going to end up dropping from a couple boxes away, getting a key siphon too over onto Nakos, who desperately needed the extra shield. They wanted that pickup. They know that Frostroki is still around here somewhere. They have the additional flopper, but keep an eye on the bottom right-hand corner. See all of those triangles who are already rotating the zone ahead of them, and with only 1 shockwave, it's going to be very dangerous for this trio to approach the outside. Still 66 players remaining. 25 trios, so continuing the trend of having a little bit of a denser lobby. However, thanks to those 3 eliminations, they're not going to have to worry about this tier 2 Storm Surge when it rears its head.
Yeah, it feels great. They got the elims, but they're not yet in the placement threshold. We are about 8 trios going down before we can start doling out those points. And this is the things they're already overcoming these engagement obstacles, but they're not out of the water yet. There's still some stormy skies ahead of them. Nakos, Floki, and Clemento are making their way up the board slowly and surely, but they're going to need like a big victory royale to catch the monstrous lead that Mongrel's trio has. And yes, look at the mini map. So much aquatic terrain to kind of navigate here, and that's going to be so interesting to see how it all goes down, as Nakos though does get a little bit of lobby focus, but that's what you got to do. You're going to have to shoot back and let the people know that are doing those window edits stop shooting at me.
And one of the key things about this trio is their ability to get eliminations gives them the opportunity to climb up the leaderboard just a little bit more effectively. Again, we've talked about it in the games where they don't drop right away. They're one of the more aggressive trios, so their averages are brought down a little bit by those complete and utter goose egg games. When you take those out of consideration, they have a really good time, but forget what I'm saying right now, as the matter of importance is in the bottom right-hand corner. You see that white circle? That's the 4th safe zone. There's only 3 trios currently inside of it, so everyone else is going to begin a mad dash to just pack in on the southern side of that circle. The entirety of the lobby will be trying to squeeze into that area because everyone else is going to be coming from that side. Nobody wants to put themselves as the first ones out over water. It makes it so easy. You can see everyone going at once, just desperately swimming, hoping to avoid the fire at the top. And just look at the charge up the beach. Storming the beachhead comes EU.
Oh my goodness, and we're seeing trios already going for height. Mongo and Mitro at height, and just behind them, looming in a distance, as Benzi trio. And they're kind of gambling in. If the circle goes their way and half in and half out, they're going to have a strong hold here. So Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson here are just now beaming any kind of salmon trying to swim upstream. And they're going to be that bear that's going to feed on this entire rotation here. And look at the congestion that you're seeing here. Everybody, like you mentioned, Sundown, all trying to get on the beach as much as possible and hold on tight. And already there's only one trio that's kind of sitting up there, that pink one, and Floki. Oh no, Floki goes down. That engagement that took up the time is influencing them. It's hurting them on this rotation, Sundown.
And they're completely out there. Clement got picked up earlier. Nako's going down right afterward in the long rotation. The top 4 team, we talked about their ability to get eliminations, but at what cost? Apparently everything, as our number 1 trio sits high atop their perch, high atop the throne. They're first in the leaderboard. They're first right now in positioning here. Nakos gets a little bit of a gimme there as Dave, aka Rojo, will tick over, but one more player will drop and our Storm Surge will turn off. We have 19 trios left, so almost into the placement points, but yet again, up on the high ground, Mitro, Mongrel, and Tayson priority positioning. Our second place team still in the lobby, but they're going to have to be toppled at some point. The clock is against everyone else, as Janice and Andulex are also without a squeeze. They're in a duo. However, luckily for everyone, the lobby is pulling completely away from that, with the little side note that we are going all the way over the water. So expect a ton of utility to be burnt here, with only 3 trios having priority.
Split Splash, we are taking a bath here in this in-game. It's all going to be aquatic. It's all going to be chaotic. It's all going to be dangerous. But at the end, there's going to be someone that's going to have a victory royale. They're going to be soaked. They're going to be tired from all the sweat and all the water. But it's going to be a big game. Somebody could easily kind of bolt their way up their leaderboard. But if Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson, yes, they didn't get the victory royale, but Shayo said it best. They kind of got a mini victory just by staying up. And look at it. They're at height. This is going to be big, considering everything's going to be over water. The low ground warriors are not going to have the ability to save their resources because they're going to have to build floors as well.
Yeah, and we've talked about it too, the opportunities for when these trios could potentially be taken out, and that was it. However, the well-executed Shockwave, they didn't even need height. They just all needed to stay together. They said, Sundown, don't you know who we are? We've been on height nearly every single game, and it's going to have to be pried out of our eliminated bodies right now. As you can see, 3 eliminations, everyone still trying to pack on in, and again, placement points starting to get doled out. And as we keep an eye on the top of the leaderboard, every single placement point that Tayson, Mongrel, and Mitro get effectively nullifies the placement points everyone else is getting, because it doesn't matter if you get that point, they're getting it too. They'll continue to open up that lead, and unless somebody can knock them down off of this throne, it looks like it's going to continue to be a battle for second. As the 5th zone will close, we'll have our transition into the end game, and we're gonna head over to the Shark, baby.
Yes, and now Cammy, that was a trio that was able to knock off Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson with a shockwave play. That is the EU thing to do. No doubt, Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson know how to kind of combat that. They know the defense, and they get a good spread, and there it is. They're going to beam all these people trying to go for it. They're already going to the tip of the nose of the shark. They're becoming the sharks of the region. We already have a rogue shark in NA East, the X-Set boys, and all that. But Mongo, Mitro, and Tayson are being the alpha predators, the apex of right now now in this EU region, and that is proof in the pudding, considering they're sitting on top of the leaderboard, and they're looking pretty, and they're looking swaggish, because right now Tayson picked up a knock on the feet, and we already seen this. Double E limbs comes from height. The E limb natality is strong with this trio.
And you can see, have you ever just wanted a shark with a laser beam on top of its head? Well, this is the best you'll ever get. It's Mongrel up there with a legendary Stark infantry rifle, raining shots from above. We saw Savage go down in the feed. Lechy's going to pick up another Elim. Despite the fact that 17 players have dropped, not a single trio has gone down, so only one placement point doled out. And as I say that, they begin to tick over. Mongrel gets another elimination. 15 trios remaining, going to be forced over to the side. He's going to build back up. He needs to get over to the high ground and connect with this team, but they are doing a great job of executing this textbook high ground control, and it's going to be their match to close out. However, low on mats is Mongrel, but he says, don't matter, don't care. I got the AR I need in the Stark Industry Rifle, and he finds another elimination. We have our top 20 players, top 11 trios.
And it's going to go back over water again. And it all is up to Tayson, the in-game leader, to kind of lead Mongrel and Mitro to the prime positioning with getting a knock on ZQ, getting them those angles that they need to send those beams down. We've already labeled these as one of the strongest players in the region with beams, and look at this, it's going to go off a waterfall, so the more elevation is going to go down and down. This is going to be crazy. This is intense. Coral Castle, and now we're going to take a peek just for a brief moment at what is going down in the chaos down below. We have the ultimate box fighter teams, Wolfie, CRR, and Kenzel sitting in third place, trying to say, wait a minute, not so fast, Mongrel. We are going to contest you, and we are going to have a chance to win, but it's going to require a huge effort to dethrone the Kings on top, Sundown.
And we still need to see them go down. However, Janus on his feet, despite Andalex being up to the second place team, at least still getting up to fifth. That's what the top trios do the best in the game. They manage to find a way to eke out these placement points. We've talked about it, that Europe has kind of been the run of the Lone Ranger of the final moments. And if there isn't a trio hip to hip, then there's an opportunity for the clutches to come through. But right now, on the low ground, you have one of the most dangerous trios who is hip to hip, as Hen will go down there. Deceptos following in his feet right away will signal the end of that trio, but Wolfies is at the back of the storm. But at the end of the day, the story of EU, time and time again, E11 Tayson, the Chapter 2 Season 3 solo winner, Liquid Mitro and Mongrel on the high ground running it out. It's a 3v2. They have 11 eliminations, and at this point, it is a battle for second. There is no way, unless there is a monumental ruin, that with the way this trio is playing so far, anybody will be able to catch them or repeat this performance. And this is why Mitro drops down. Tayson and Mongrel shooting fish in a literal barrel of the zone. 13 eliminations, 38 points.
You know they're feeling it when Tayson edit downs Mitro to be the ultimate swanton